it's just uh, broadly in line. I think we have I think we have some perspective coming in on this. Ranveer Singh of Systematix Securities is now joining in. Ranveer, what's your first thought? It's a big miss.
No, can't say big miss, but yes, slightly lower than expectation. Uh, the details number I am yet to see, but what broadly it looks like that probably in U.S. market, like the other generic players are facing the challenges. The same is hampering Cipla's performance also.
What is the sense that you get now that you have Dr. Reddy's numbers out? Strides was the way it is. Lupin did not give a good outlook. And now with these Cipla numbers, what can you conclude for the US business?
Yeah, so nobody even talking about a positive outlook for U.S. business, at least for next few quarters, because the generic pricing pressure continues. All factors which affected performance of generic players are intact. So only way to achieve a growth there is to have a good flow of new product pipeline. And I think few players, big players at least, like Dr. Reddy's or Sun Pharma, Lupin also are facing problem from USFDA issues also because certain sites are not getting approvals. So that is that is a factor affecting performance even for next few quarters. So that scenario is likely to continue. But as I see, even the global players.
I think that there is an issue with that network, but what we could broadly gather is that that nobody seems to be talking about a positive US market. Cinderella, research analyst pharma at Daulat Capital, is now joining us. What is your first take? Okay, I think that there is also an issue with that line as well. So we'll just try and dial her once. Okay, Ranveer is still with us. Ranveer, if you could just talk about for a company like Cipla. The US business itself is not very big at this point of time, and most of the growth is likely to come in from new launches. So even if a company like Cipla is facing issue in US market, that means that things are really not great there.
Yeah, obviously. So that problem is not any particular company per se. So unless we have some, very, very niche product, competition is affecting, most of the players. And top line players are especially affected. The second sentimentally negative for Cipla is the negative opioid outlook there. And so that some time back, they targeted this area also, but I think there also positive things are not coming in. So for US per se, I think although if I compare it with other players like Lupin or Dr. Reddy or Sun Pharma, at least Cipla has showcased some product pipeline that is going to unfold in next few years. So that will drive their growth. But base business is just facing competition. There's a challenges out there. So that scenario, I do not see major change in that scenario going to happen in next few quarters. The growth, although in non-US business market, is obviously they can see some positive traction there.
Can you just tell us that what is the sense that you get as far as the entire largely the guidance is concerned? What will you look out for in terms of guidance?
Yeah, so obviously we'll see how management looks and how they make a strategy to achieve a growth. But I think it's quite some time now that generic pricing pressure or the challenges are now well known to each of top players, and they obviously working hard to devise some strategy to deal with it. And so for Cipla also, we will like to hear the management how they are going to deal with it. But unless I have all the numbers, which I do not have right now, all the numbers of geography-wise breakup, so not able to comment exactly what has happened. So
what to watch out for in Dr. Reddy press conference?
So yeah, in Dr. Reddy's, I think the result, although has been a little lower than our expectation, but what I see positive on two sides, that one, the gross margin they have been able to improve on Y-on-Y basis, despite the challenges in generic business facing in US. So despite all these challenges, I think although on Q&Q basis there has been a decline in their gross margin, but yet this is solacing that at least on Y&Y basis they have been in good range of gross margin level. And I see in other geography, in most of the geography, although they have seen a decline in sales, but the way market anticipated, so there was no big negative surprise for Dr. Reddy. Yes, it was a little lower than expectation. So for management perspective, I think we'll see the only hangover of the company is that US FDA related issue, so that we have to see when they are going to, whether they have reached to any conclusive stage or not. And secondly, about some product launches, some key product they had earlier showcased is yet to be launched. So that commentary would be specifically important for US market perspective. Yeah.
Right. Cinderella is also now with us. Cinderella, what's your first take on Cipla numbers?
They look bad, yeah. I mean, despite the, exceptional, even if I ignore that, the EBITDA has come weaker than the previous quarter also. So I'll just wait for the breakup and see how the numbers are, because we were expecting Paldicor, Decogen, and all these to contribute this quarter. Looks like the contribution is not as per our expectation.
For in terms of guidance?
Sorry?
What will you watch out for in terms of guidance for FY19?
We'll see. I mean, there are, in terms of Cipla, there are 2-3 segments that we need to watch for. One is India, of course. Second is the ARV part of it. I mean, the South African business. And then the third is the US business. So whether they will be profitable or not is the first question that we need to understand. That at least this year we were expecting that they will be more than breaking one. I mean, the US segment should become profitable for the company, but we will watch for those all points, as well as if any other niche approvals, as company had highlighted earlier. Every quarter they would expect a niche or a differentiated launch to come their way. So if anything on those lines that we get to hear, we would be definitely looking forward to these kind of details.
Right. Thank you so much, Cinderella, for taking out time for us. Ranveer, always good to get perspective from you. We'll soon be cutting across to the Cipla press conference. I think in the next 5-10 minutes, you should get more details about the press conference. I believe Samit Chauhan is also with us. Samit, technically, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, can you give us some perspective on the levels to watch out for?
No, clearly, since